Department's request that the search warrant affidavit used to authorize the FBI's raid on Mar-a-Lago remain fully sealed. Former President Donald Trump last week demanded the full affidavit be released to the public. Judge Reinhart is now saying that he will release portions of the affidavit. The DOJ has until noon on Thursday of next week to submit proposed redactions, though the judge does have the final say. And to break this all down, we'll bring in Alan Dershowitz, professor emeritus at Harvard Law School and author of the book, The Price of Principle. Professor Dershowitz, thanks for being here tonight. So we've reported on the potential conflicts of interest about this judge, but he's saying that the Justice Department gets a chance to redact. So if he thinks they're overdoing it, then he will decide what gets released. So what's your assessment of how he's handling the situation?
Well, I think he's handling it very well. I predicted in an article before he made his decision that he would do exactly that he would allow the affidavit in general to be released subject to redaction of material that the government could demonstrate was necessary to keep secret. What I think he'll do is the government will come in and they will try to redact anything that might help Trump and keep everything in the affidavit that is negative to Trump. The judge will see through this and will say, no, I'm going to allow this to go out. This remains redacted. Then the government will appeal that. And there will be a fight over whether to stay the release of the affidavit pending the appeal. And probably the way it would be resolved is the material that's not in dispute, that both sides think should be revealed, will be revealed. But the material that the government claims Reinhart improperly allowed to be revealed, that will remain secret pending further appeal from this judgment. That's what's going to happen.
So you're saying the only redactions you believe will happen are anything that would be beneficial to Trump, anything for the government you think could be redacted, or you think it's going to be very political in how this all plays out?
Oh, I think it'll be political. I think the government will do two things. Number one, it will try to protect sources and mechanisms and confidential witnesses, and that's legitimate. But then it will cherry pick the substantive parts and allow the material that's very harmful to Trump, if there is such material, to be released. But if there's anything beneficial to Trump, it will claim confidentiality. The government plays that game all the time. I've been through this over and over again. I was one of the lawyers in the Pentagon Papers case back in the 70s. They played that game then, they've played it since, and they will continue to play it in Florida.
And President Trump doesn't appear to have filed a motion to have a special master review of Mar-a-Lago materials that were seized. Do you think that'll come down the pike at some point?
No, I don't. I think that he should be very satisfied with Judge Reinhart, who has shown that he is able to reject the government's claims. I don't think a special master will be necessary. Remember, too, the way the system works is you get first to appeal it to the federal district court judge. Then, if you're not satisfied with that, you can appeal it to the United States Court of Appeals and then ultimately to the Supreme Court. But I think speed is of the essence here, and every day that the material is kept secret is a day that the First Amendment suffers and a day that the public loses the right to evaluate its own Justice Department. So I would hope that we would move this thing along quickly, that the vast majority of the affidavit would be released to the public, and that the government would have to justify why every sentence, word, and line have to be kept secret. Otherwise, unless they can justify it, it should be made public. That's the American way.
Now, there are reports that Mr. Trump is likely to make a major motion against the FBI and the DOJ. What's the likelihood of that happening?
I think it's remote until the affidavit comes out. If I was the lawyer for Trump, I would not be challenging the search until I saw the affidavit, because the answer is going to be obvious. Well, it was in the affidavit. Now, what he might think about doing, as lawyers, is filing the lawsuit now on the assumption that the affidavit will be released, and then it can be amended to add what beneficial information there might be in the affidavit. But this requires really good lawyering. And one of the problems is that lots of lawyers don't want to represent Donald Trump because of what happened to me. I wrote a whole book on it, The Price of Principle. After I represented him in front of the Senate, not only did I lose friends, not only did I lose support I was banned from libraries. My books were banned. I was banned from speaking in synagogues and community centers. An effort was made to cancel me. And I've spoken to a number of lawyers who say they don't want that to happen. They've read The Price of Principle, and they don't want to be Dershowitz. And that's why, although they would love to take the case, they don't want to suffer the slings and arrows that I have suffered and people who support me have suffered. My wife, my family, my children. A lot of lawyers say, our wives won't let me do it, our husbands won't let me do it, our children won't let me do it. It's McCarthyism writ large. It's 21st century McCarthyism from the left. Shame on anybody who in any way attacks lawyers, attacks judges for doing their job. Without judges and lawyers, our Constitution could not survive.
Alan Dershowitz, author of The Price of Principle, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much.